Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everybody's doing great. It's good to be back in the shop doing some live streams. I had some things going on at the beginning of the year. I had to help my parents out the first week that we could have done it a couple weeks ago. And then actually last weekend, we were up in Tahoe. So that was a little bit of a personal kind of retreat, but we had that planned for a while and I totally forgot to mention that I wouldn't be in the shop. I didn't realize what the dates were. But we're back in action now and we're ready to rock. So the first week, I guess, the first stream of 2024, we're going to be doing something kind of cool. And I haven't done this for a while. So we're going to be casting packing materials. And just to kind of show you what's going on, where I got this, I ordered, we moved into a rental house and there was like not very much storage in the house. So I basically bought a cabinet like this, for actually two of them, for our garage. And what you'll find with a lot of things that get, packaged up and shipped, is you'll see these cardboard panel things, lots of them usually. And so these were part of the packing materials for that cabinet. And as you can see, it's basically like, it's similar to like the aluminum honeycomb, it's just cardboard. And so you have like two skins on it. But the center, portion of it is just basically a honeycomb core. So how I get the sheathing, the paper stuff off is on the bandsaw. And I want to be very clear about safety when you're dealing with things like this. So the first cut, so what you'll want to do is set up your bandsaw so you're just barely taking anything off. The blade is just nicking this just on the inside, just so mainly so you're not taking a lot of the material away. But you want to go with a high tooth count blade for something like this, and then you'll take off the outside skin, and then you'll flip it around and take the other one off. Now this is where things can get a little bit sketchy because there's really not much strength this way on honeycomb materials. And so one thing that the biggest safety factor is, do I have any, hold on a minute, I didn't think about this. I guess I don't have a honeycomb panel. Oh yeah, I do. I just want to mention this for anybody that buys from me or uses aluminum honeycomb. One of the big questions I get, so this is the way my aluminum honeycomb comes. There are no skins or anything that you need to cut off, but a lot of people ask if you can like people that make knife scales, you don't need a 7/8 inch thick piece. And so one of the big questions I get is, can you like resaw it, cut it like in half, this way? And with the aluminum honeycomb, don't ever try cutting this way, where you're cutting it like through the length of it. It's going to be a change your shorts moment like immediately. I tried this once and luckily I didn't get hurt, but what ends up happening is the blade like grabs onto the metal and it just crumples it, and it's scary and it's not going to work ever. Now when you're dealing with something like cardboard, I'm not going to say in every case that's not going to happen. However, typically, like, it hasn't happened to me. And I think it's just because the material itself is, paper basically. And your bandsaw blade is going to cut through it pretty fine. But if it did get caught on something, I mean, it's just going to kind of crumple it. Now, if this crumples on your bandsaw, it's not that scary. When metal crumples like that on your bandsaw, that's kind of scary. Now, you can cut aluminum honeycomb flat on the table like this, like cut it into, cutting it, I don't know what way, but you understand. Like if I wanted to cut it, like cut 3 sections out of this, you can cut it as long as everything, like there's a lot of strength this way on honeycomb, especially aluminum honeycomb. So you can cut that on your bandsaw, no problem. You never want to cut it where the blade's trying to slice it all the way through the middle. It's just going to grab and crumple. So just wanted to mention that, a little bit of safety on the honeycomb. And even when it comes to this stuff, be careful. Don't be sticking your hands anywhere near there. Use push sticks and all that stuff. But you should be all right. Like I said, higher tooth count blade. That should slice through this stuff just fine, even on that second one where you don't have a skin holding everything intact. And so what you end up with once you get the two skins off is some honeycomb. Now these are not my favorite. These are like a 3/8 cell, something like that. I'm gonna measure these real quick, just kind of get an idea. I don't think they're 1/2 inch. It's like, yeah, it's like 3/8. Yeah, about 3/8 cell. Personally, I kind of like, there are panels, these cardboard honeycomb panels that come in smaller cell sizes. Obviously the problem is you're not going to know until you open your whatever you're opening and take it out and cut it up. But 1/4 inch I think is a little bit better for pen blanks typically, but this is going to be pretty cool for pen blanks anyway. One thing that I do want to mention is, we're going to test this. I already have an idea about this, but one thing that you could do with the honeycomb is fill like each cell with like a different color. But I don't think that's going to work with paper, basically, as being like, if we basically cut the front, this like I've done here, cut the top off and then leave the backer on. I don't think it's going to work, but we're going to try it out. I'm pretty sure it's just going to kind of leak through, but we'll give it a shot and see if it's viable in any way. One way that you could maybe do this is if you just soaked the bottom part, like basically just soaked it in resin and then let it cure. You might be able to get it to work that way. I don't know, but we're just going to dump these guys in a brick. Basically, we're going to use one of these 5x6 molds. Let's go for the overhead cam. We're going to pour our resin, and the way that I like doing this is I pour the resin in and then I push the honeycomb down in. And what that does is it kind of moves around your resin, kind of stirs it up a little bit and adds a little bit of fun to it. The other issue is, I would say for these cardboard ones, I'm a little bit, and especially with a large cell, we could easily pour over this. So maybe we'll do one of each. You could pour over this. I'm not particularly worried about air bubbles or air pockets getting trapped in something that's like a big cell like that. But even when you drop down to like a 1/4 inch cell, I don't really like pouring the resin over the honeycomb, because you could get like an area where an air pocket, not a bubble, but just like a pocket kind of, the resin doesn't sink down in. It's just possible, especially if you're waiting till the resin thickens up and all that. You could get areas where like a pocket of air forms in the middle, and that you would not want that in a blank. But otherwise, same thing. I would pour the resin in the brick or whatever I'm doing. A lot of times I'll cut these into individual sizes. So like for individual pen blanks, like for the Jake Blank singles, or a single kind of mold, it just kind of, it seems like, I don't know, I feel like it spreads your how far you can take the honeycomb. It seems like you get a little bit more out of it that way. Especially, you're also not, especially for people that aren't making tons of blanks of this, you want the same thing. You can get a lot of different ones if you do singles, but I'll always pour the resin in and then push the honeycomb down in. So we'll try both ways. Like I said, I think when you're dealing with a cell, a hole that's like 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch is pretty close. I think you could get away with it with 1/4 inch even, but definitely with a 3/8, I don't think I'd have a problem pouring over it. Plus, cardboard is like, your resin can kind of flow around. It's very light. It can kind of sneak underneath the cells very easily. So it's a little bit easier. Now, one of the advantages to the cardboard honeycomb versus aluminum is your resin is going to stick to it extremely well. That's one of the drawbacks to aluminum honeycomb. There's just nothing, I've heard people talk about acid etching and doing all these different things to aluminum to get a better bond. Personally, I've tried those things. I have no clue what I'm doing with acid etching or any of that, but I've never seen any significant improvement doing it that way. So the bottom line is, when you're trying to cast resin onto metal, it's just not a good bond. Like, I don't care what kind of tricks and things that you do, it's going to be a worse bond than most things. The only thing that's probably worse than this is shiny certain types of plastic, but especially like very smooth, shiny plastic things. Let's get a little bit further out so you can see. There's just nothing for the resin to grab onto. So this is going to be by far the worst type of bond, I would say. I'm trying to think of if there's anything worse. Well, I mean, if you were trying, we make our molds out of HDPE, so there's also certain types of plastic just resist bonding with resins and stuff like that. So, certain types of plastics are going to be even worse than others, but anything smooth is going to be not good, because the way the resin works is it needs like a little groove or something to kind of grab onto. That's why wood works pretty well usually. You got, the wood grain, so the resin can kind of grab onto that and you get a really good bond. Now with cardboard, it honestly, it even penetrates into the cardboard. So you're going to get an excellent bond with resin on cardboard. So next time you order, cabinets, actually the place that I first started doing this was the Harbor Freight pressure pots. The box, the packing materials in that comes with like the 1/4-inch cell sandwiched honeycomb, cardboard honeycomb panels. So while I don't particularly advocate for buying a Harbor Freight pressure pot, I think that the California Air Tools 2.5 gallon is well worth the extra $100. However, if you do end up buying a Harbor Freight pressure pot, I mean, they are the cheapest one that's reasonable out there. You'll get some of these packing materials and you'll have something cool to dunk right after you get your pressure pot set up. So it's kind of fun. I don't know. I thought we would have a little fun with it. So we're going to open up the super chats. Super chatters get to pick colors and have a little bit of fun with it. So come up with some really cool color combinations, and then we'll dunk this stuff in the resin. One thing that I do want to mention, maybe, I don't know if this is maybe I shouldn't say this, I guess, but what is the company that sells it? I think it's called Genesis pen blanks. Who sells those? I forget who sells and makes them. Wood Turnings has them. I think Rockler might. I'm pretty sure that this is the Genesis. That's how they make these is with cardboard honeycomb. And the reason I say that is just, like I said, sometimes turning the aluminum honeycomb, although I've really never had any issues, especially with my honeycomb. That's why I did testing to find one that worked the best. However, the best is still not an excellent bond, and you got to be careful when you're dealing with aluminum. But for the Genesis blanks, or if you see anybody that's using cardboard honeycomb, it's going to turn like butter. There's not going to be anything shattering or any material separation going on, because it bonds. Like I said, it actually even penetrates into the cardboard, so it's not like you have a bad bond anywhere. So just wanted to kind of mention that, but I do believe that's kind of how. I think that's probably what the Genesis blanks. I don't know for sure, but I know they turn well and they're honeycomb. How many types of honeycomb are there? There is one other one that I can think of. There's the Kevlar. A lot of time, what are they? Nomex? Is that what it's called? Nomex? Yeah, I think it's called Nomex honeycomb. That stuff is pretty much, it's like a fiber with resin material. It's like a Kevlar, and that stuff works pretty good for honeycomb panels. Maybe they're using that. It seems kind of ridiculously expensive to be doing it, because you get the same results with just cardboard, really. The only difference is the Nomex honeycomb. A lot of times you'll get the 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch cell. That's easy to find, but that stuff's pretty expensive. I mean, it's up there with aluminum honeycomb, so it's kind of not really a great purchase, I don't think. At some point, I would like to talk to people obviously order this stuff for their packing materials. I haven't done a ton of research, but it would be kind of nice to find a place, because cardboard honeycomb is super cheap. And if you could buy, pretty big panels and you could get 1/4 inch, man, that would be pretty sweet. Or, if you're buying it directly from a manufacturer of some sort, having having the skins on. I wonder if you could purchase it, just the core material without the skins. I don't know if that's possible. Like I said, it sure would be a lot cheaper than aluminum honeycomb. You don't get the aluminum. I mean, aluminum honeycomb is really cool, but like I said, it is a little bit more expensive and it has some drawbacks with the bond with the resin. But it'd be kind of cool to see if you could order cardboard, because like I said, there's no issues with casting it. Everything works great. And even if you had to buy it with skins on, it's not that difficult as long as you have a bandsaw. You could maybe try to do it with a handsaw, I guess, if you don't have a bandsaw. I think it'd be kind of difficult, but maybe even just a knife or something you could do it if you didn't have a bandsaw. I would recommend maybe if you got a friend that's got a bandsaw, maybe a makerspace or like a woodworking club, find somebody that has a bandsaw that can just cut the skins off for you. So let's see here. I'm going to scroll up. I was talking a lot about all this stuff. I just wanted to get all the information out before we get started here. So who was here first? Mike McEwen was here first. Nice. And Kim's here. Mike DeQuattro. And Mark and Paul are here. Nice. Yeah, so I hope everybody had a happy New Year's. And 2024 is going well for you. There's Kid Cooper. I know it does feel like it's been forever. It's funny because we only missed two. As far as I know, we only missed 2 episodes, 2 weeks, but man, it does seem like it's been forever. Let's see here. Dale's here. Nice. The Wood Butcher. Timothy McCain's here. Cool. Mark's here. Hey, Mark, did you get my letter? Basically the stickers in the mail. I sent that a while ago. I feel really bad because you gave me your address like months ago. I am so terrible. People are like, oh, can you send me a sticker? And I'm like, sure. And then like months go by. It's just the last thing, like when I'm doing shipping. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened with yours. I didn't have, I used to do all my shipping at home, and then we moved into that rental house and I didn't really want to do that anymore. So all the shipping stuff was at the shop. However, I never had, envelopes, like just letter envelopes, and it just I never bought them, and it just I'm terrible at sending stickers. I really the what I want to do, or I've done, and I did this for a while, is where you can just order them through one of the services, like they just print a sticker and send it. The problem is it's like $5 or $10 for a sticker, and I'm like, that's just, nobody's gonna buy that. That's stupid. So anyway, I'm just terrible at it. Let's see here. Who else we got? Jennifer's here too. Nice. Roy's the boy. Welcome. Let's see. Tim's here too. Tim Costello. Yeah, I've looked at Uline. It was all like the 3/8. That's the problem. Like I wouldn't purchase this. I don't think. I just don't like the large cell like that. 1/4 inch is pretty awesome. Realistically, 1/8 inch is a pretty awesome one for pen blanks. And I used to sell 1/8 inch honeycomb panels, and that was probably one of my favorites, kind of. It worked really well. It almost looked like a snake skin. I had to drop the 1/8 inch honeycomb. The last time I purchased this, during COVID, the prices of everything went up ridiculous. And so I needed to purchase kind of in the middle of like right after COVID happened. And I ended up just not purchasing anything because the lead time was like 1.5 years. And I'm like, okay. And they wouldn't even lock in a price. So 1.5 years later, you could have an order and they'd charge you whatever the heck they wanted. And so I just didn't do anything for a while. Then when it was time, like prices went down a little bit. But the 1/8 inch, and the 1/8 inch cell was always super expensive. It was way more expensive than the 1/4 inch cell for like the same thickness. It was on par with the 2 inch thick honeycomb that I sell, 1/4 inch. And so I just decided the only way that I wasn't going to be able to order all 3 of the different cells this last time. So the question was, do I just quit buying it completely, or do I drop the 1/8 inch, which is just astronomically, expensive, and then to make it work, I had to order a lot more of the other 2, so I would get a little bit of a drop in price per unit type thing. It was a hassle, and frankly, I got to be honest. The next time once I run out of this, I don't know if I'm going to order it because it makes it really difficult. I couldn't like raise the price on it. It's already super expensive because I buy brand new panels. And that's the difference. A lot of times you'll see people selling this stuff, but what they're doing is they're buying used stuff from eBay or wherever a lot of times. And so not to say that there's anything wrong with it or that it would be bad. The problem is you have no clue what it is, like what the brand is or any of that kind of stuff. And so when I was doing testing, there were a lot of aluminum honeycomb brands out there where the resin didn't stick to it at all. Like you would get the little cells would like literally fly out of the blank. And so when you're cutting it and stuff, so this stuff worked the best. And so the only way to do that is I have to order it from the same manufacturer every single time. Well, it's really expensive that way. So, and I can't order, tons of pallets of it. It's just too expensive. So anyway, there's a little side note about what's going on here. William's here, and let's see here. Tipton, Indiana. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've looked around and there's different places. I just haven't got on the phone and like called. One of the problems for me with this is I have a feeling you would probably need to order a somewhat significant amount. And for me to sell cardboard honeycomb, it is cheaper for me, but is it really worth me selling? That's the problem. Because I would probably have to cut the skins off, and there's a lot of work involved with getting it ready, and then how much are you going to sell it for without ripping people off? So, oh, you did get the stickers. Nice. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm telling you, I'm terrible with stickers. Like, from day one, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get you those, and like 2 months later, I'm like, oh, I should probably send those. Let's see here. Who else we got? Anyone else? Ah, you got the stickers on the wall. Nice. I sent you the full pack. So, oh, Barb's here too. How's it going? Okay, so I think we're ready. I've talked way too much already. Obviously, I'm catching up for 2 weeks of not talking to anybody. All right, so I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. It'll be kind of fun. I haven't actually cast this 3/8 inch because I've actually bought quite. We have. I have this cabinet. I've got 2 other ones over there. And I don't know, obviously a lot of times when you buy machines, tools and stuff, a lot of times that packaging will have some sort of honeycomb or corrugated stuff. So I've had a lot of it, and I just I didn't love the idea of the 3/8 cell. So I actually have never cast the larger stuff. I think this would work really good if you had like a 2-inch thick. This would be really cool for like a stopper. I kind of find typically, like I said, this is just kind of a preconceived notion of mine, but I like the 1/4 inch, the smaller cells on pen blanks typically. So we'll have to see how these turn out. All right, let's see here. Yeah, postage to the UK. That's not fun either. Although, I don't know how much airmail is for just a letter type thing. That's the other problem is there's only so much time in the day. And so, I mean, that I wish I could send everybody a sticker, but it costs money to buy stickers, and then it costs money to send stickers. And if you got like hundreds of people every week, not that I'm that popular or anything, but it can get a little crazy where everyone's like, send me stickers. And you're like, I don't have 3 weeks to send stickers all day. All right, so let's pull out the notebook. So we got 2 people. We got Blurple with glitter, and we got gold. I'm guessing 14 karat nugget. Is that what you want? Let's see. What is that noise? That doesn't sound good. Maybe that was my battery. Sorry, something's beeping at me. Anytime electronic things beep at you, usually it's not a good idea, or not a good thing. So, let me just see. Yeah, I think it was that thing. Okay. I don't like it when things beep at me. Usually means something's gonna melt or explode. All right, let me get some cups up here. And we will get going here. So I'm thinking maybe we should pull out some glow in the dark for these. That might be kind of fun. I haven't done any glow in the dark stuff for quite a while. Oops, that battery's good. Okay. Sorry guys, while the thing's beeping at me, I may as well get some of these batteries charged up so that I don't run out. And actually, while we're talking about battery things, I do want to share. I might even do like a real video for this. So they make battery powered, no cord glue guns, and they work really good. So the issue is you could run out of battery, right? That's kind of the drawback to doing something like this. But if you have, backup batteries, I gotta be honest. So the company is Surebonder. This gun works amazing. So I wrecked I don't know what I did. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I pulled out a glue stick. I guess you're not supposed to do that. This DeWalt one, it's a corded one, obviously. This DeWalt one works pretty darn well, and it's like 20 bucks, right? So it's a lot better than your cheap, crappy ones. And it's served me well for many years. Got some glue stuck on the nozzle, but it worked pretty well. The drippiness, it was pretty good about like drips and all that kind of stuff. Not the best, it wasn't perfect, but overall, it was a pretty decent glue gun. And like I said, the problem was I pulled this thing out because what I was finding is I bought some glue, like a huge box of glue sticks, thinking that was a smart idea. And the problem is I was making silicone molds, and I would get areas of the silicone where it didn't cure. It was like sticky, like liquidy. And so I finally realized that I thought it was the glue, possibly, because that's where it was. It was around where the glue touched it while it was curing. So I was trying to pull the glue stick out that was that brand and replace it to do a test with another one. And by pulling it out like that, it doesn't feed anymore. So I had to buy a new one. So I'm actually going to throw this one away because it doesn't work. So I was looking for glue sticks or glue guns, and I ended up buying another DeWalt just in case, because it was, like I said, 20 bucks, whatever. But then I found this battery powered one, and I was like, I got to try this out. And it works fabulous. Like, it heats up quick. It doesn't, the drip problem is good. It doesn't drip or do anything like that. And I think Surebonder sells a lot of them. So if you're looking for a glue gun, Surebonder is a good company, I think. I'm very happy, and they're pretty well known, I think. There may be better ones out there, but this thing's pretty awesome. And so not having a cord getting in the way while you're gluing things or glue gunning, whatever, really helps. The only thing that I don't like about this thing is the trigger is so long. I don't need 3 fingers to pull a hot glue gun trigger, right? Like one. And I just hold on to the gun usually, so I'm usually doing it that way. But it has like this tab, so you can't use 1 finger. You can maybe use 2, but it still kind of hits your. So it's kind of a weird trigger, is basically what I'm saying. I don't love the trigger. I could maybe even fix that a little bit by kind of cutting it off. But Surebonder, pretty good one. I might even have a link to that. I think I got it. I think I bought it directly from Amazon, Surebonder, but I think that they have them on Amazon, and they have different. So the Surebonder, I have Makita guns, so like basically Makita 18-volt batteries, right? But they have ones that work with Milwaukee, with Ryobi, and DeWalt, I think. I say DeWalt, maybe other ones. So you can use your 18-volt batteries that you already have. That's the coolest part about it. See if I can get you guys a link here. Well, here's the link to the one for Ryobi. And this isn't even that expensive, 26 bucks. Thing is, you'd have to have Ryobi batteries for this one, so if you have that, this will be great. What's happening here? I get logged out. There it is. All right, so here's a link to it. Sorry guys, I'm messing around a lot today. So much to share. There you go. Tony's here too. Yeah, well, yeah, it is pretty big. Oh, I turned it on. It's pretty big, but I mean, compared to the DeWalt, it's not really that much. You know, like the thing is, those little tiny ones suck. All right, so don't even waste your money buying a $10 little or $5. I don't even know how much they cost. They're honestly not even that cheap. But those little tiny crappy ones, they suck. They take forever to heat up. But I mean, really, compared to the DeWalt that I was using, this isn't, I mean, besides the bottom, obviously. Now, the way this works, though, so if you have the Ryobi batteries, they would pop right into this. I bought the one that uses that works for the Makita. And so you have to have this little adapter doohickey, so that adds more stuff to this thing. And then that thing. So there's a lot of things kind of going on, but tell you what, it worked well. It laid down. I did some tests with it. I already kind of made some molds, and it really lays down a nice bead, you know, a nice line. So that's good. You can also buy like a nozzle kit to have different, you know, like diameter nozzles and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. Like honestly, for how much it costs. Let me just say, like under $100, and obviously, you know, if you get the Ryobi one, 26 bucks, 27 bucks, that's cheap as far as I'm concerned. And I think I maybe paid 40 because I had to get that adapter doohickey for the Makita batteries. 50 bucks for a glue gun that works. Okay, all day. Peter's here. What's up, man? Yeah, I don't like cords either. Glow in the dark. Yeah, let's do some glow in the dark. Cool. Let's see here. Tony's here. What's up? You're not late. I've just been talking for like half an hour. Ridiculous. Yeah, I think they have a Milwaukee one. Like I said, that link to Amazon, that's an affiliate link. I didn't look that hard, but that is the one for Ryobi, so it just doesn't come with an adapter. A lot of people have Ryobi, and actually at home I have Ryobi tools, so I could probably bring a battery in. But go to the SureBonder website. They got all kinds of stuff on there, and I got to be honest, frankly, looking at this adapter, it's not like it's. So they literally have different listings for different battery types, but this is definitely not specific, I don't think, to Makita necessarily. I don't know. I'd have to see the other adapters, but this looks like it might be kind of universal somewhat. I don't know. Maybe there are different adapters, but it seems like the adapter might be like universal and like almost just about any battery would work. But it definitely did seem like they have all the major ones, which, you know, Milwaukee would fall into that. DeWalt. What are the other ones? Makita. Right. Yeah, I think Milwaukee was one of the major ones. All right, so let's see here. I got some glow in the dark powder somewhere. Actually, I have some. Illumilite sent me some. Let's just use some free stuff. What do you guys think? Try out the Polyglow. The thing that I don't like about the Illumilite powders now is that most of them come in these stupid baggies, which I hate. There's nothing worse than a baggie full of mica powder. Finally got all of mine. So we got the Blurple and the glitters they're in jars now. All right, guys, on my website. No more baggies. They come in these little jars, all 3 of them. So if you need Blurple or micro or regular Starlight glitter, I got you covered. All right, so we got gold and Blurple. So let's do see here. Silicone gun. This is a silicone gun. I've never even seen that. DeWalt in Milwaukee. 45 bucks. I mean, it's not cheap, you know, obviously you can go to the hobby store, but if you've never bought a glue gun before, and this was the progression of me. I went and I'm like, it's a glue gun, whatever. They all kind of the same, you know. So I went and bought like the $5 one at the hobby store. Those things are so terrible. They take like an hour to heat up. They get just messy everywhere. They don't lay down a good thing. The triggers, they're horrible. Don't buy those little tiny junk ones. And then finally I made my way to that DeWalt one, which I was very happy with. I mean, compared to the other ones, that thing heats up like right away, and all that. And it was great forever till I jacked it up. But this SureBonder one, it's pretty awesome for not having a cord. And I would say that it's a little bit better. It seems like it. Now, maybe when the DeWalt was brand new, it worked perfectly and all that stuff. So we'll see over time how the SureBonder one works. But I mean, it wasn't very messy. It didn't leave like long strings, you know, most of the time, unless I dip the tip in the hot stuff. Yeah, so anyway, pretty cool. Oh, a caulking gun. Oh, I see. Yeah, you can do that. I would rather use actual silicone rubber for most molds, the types that I make anyway. Okay, so we'll switch to the overhead view. I'll quit talking. I'm so excited. All right, so today is 1/20. Good Lord. 2024 is already gone. Look forward to 2025. All right, so cardboard. I'm just going to call this cardboard honeycomb. And number 1. So we're going to go with. So I'm going to close down the color choices. I think. Let's go with the Blurple and gold and. I'm just going to look and see what other little things I might have in here. Purple and gold. Kevin's here. What's up, man? Happy New Year, yeah. Purple, gold, and I think white would be kind of cool with that. So let's just add a little bit of white. Maybe we'll throw some macro pearl in there. All right, so been a while since I've done most of the pen blanks that I've done lately. I've been using the verticals. So let's see here. Number 1, we're gonna go with 550. And then let's go with like a 35%. We'll do basically like a 70-30 split with the colors, the 2 colors, and then the white is going to be 30% of the total. Yeah, it's almost a third, but whatever. But we're going to go with 35%. Yeah, okay. I did the right. We're on the right thing. 0.35 times 550. We're looking at like I don't know. Let's just do 200, 200, and 150. Yeah. We're going to do 550 grams total. And so we're doing Blurple plus glitter. Starlight glitter. Let's do the chunky. Is that what you were thinking? That's a good one. And then we're doing 14 karat gold. And then we're doing white plus macro. And then for these, let's see, 200. We'll do, I don't know. 15 karat. We're probably going to need like, I'm going to try a half teaspoon of the 14 karat nugget. I think we're going to try a quarter teaspoon of the Blurple, the blue to purple color shift powder. Probably the same amount of glitter. And then for the white, we'll go with 2%. Like, yeah, 2 grams. We don't need that much. How much is one? Yeah. We'll do 1.5 grams of white dye plus quarter teaspoon of, yeah, that's fine. Quarter teaspoon of macro. And we'll do the glows on the next one. We'll get similar colors to them. Okay. Now, I already sprayed the molds. I've got them in the oven over here. But I sprayed them with a little bit of the Stoner mold release. Urethane mold release. All right. You need to kind of watch what you're doing with this. I usually stay away. Well, for something where I'm just dumping the resin in first, then pushing, like honeycomb down in, I don't have a problem spraying molds. But if I need to put stuff in the mold first, like maybe like cholla cactus or stuff like that, I usually don't spray the mold first or at all, basically. So I don't like getting this stuff. If you get this stuff on the thing that you're trying to cast, you're screwed. It's not going to stick, to it. So I'm kind of careful. But in this case, we have a mold that has the mold release on it. We're pouring resin in first, then pushing the stuff down. So I don't really see that as being a problem. Okay, so let's see here. We need 550. Let's go get a bucket to mix. Got a clean bucket ready to go. And if you want to get in on colors on the next round, you know what to do, guys. Super chat it up. Get a couple cups ready. All right, we're going to use Alumilite Clear slow because we don't want to be fast. Let's see, 550, what is that, 275? Yep. $275 part A. PCC. What's happening? All right, so we need Blurple, Starlight, Where's the 14 karat? We need another one of those. And macro. All right, so did I say, what did I say? We're going to try a half teaspoon of the 14 karat. I'm going to give it kind of a heavy half teaspoon. See how that goes. We might have to do another half teaspoon. I was kind of thinking 1 teaspoon is probably a better way to go, but we'll see. And then let's see here. So I'm going to put the white in this one, and then we'll put the blurple in this one. So we were doing a 1/4 teaspoon of macro. Then I'll put the white dye in. I don't know. You can drop it down to the bottom of the cup, put it in ahead of time. My only issue, I don't know, and this is like splitting hairs, but some of that is probably not going to come off the cup bottom. So I like to drip it into the actual resin when I'm dealing with dyes, typically. Unless I've got just so many colors that I'm doing at once that it just is going to be really difficult to get it all done, Just waiting for the videos. Yeah, I was out of town and I had to help my parents out a couple weeks ago, so we couldn't do the live streams, so I apologize for that. Joker casting. I'm not sure what that is. Joker. You'll have to refresh my memory on what that might be. Oh, you're in Michigan, yeah. It is cold everywhere. Not so much here right now, but man. Winter's finally coming, I guess. So most of you guys know that I tore my meniscus. I got in November. And I was super bummed because I snowboard, and I'm like, oh man, am I going to miss the whole snowboarding season? And frankly, this was the best year possible for me to get a knee injury, like right before ski season, because like they're basically, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't even have probably gone until mid-January, maybe anyway. I like going out in the trees and backcountry stuff, and there wasn't even enough coverage up here in Tahoe. For me, I would have been repairing my snowboard every time. So, frankly, I didn't really miss anything, and I'm hoping to maybe get up on the mountain maybe in about a month, or like sometime in February, a week or two into February maybe. I just found a new physical therapist place that I'm going to try out. Hopefully they'll get me whipped into shape, get my knee ready for snowboarding, and be ready to go. Okay, so that's mixed. I mixed the heck out of that. So we're going 150 grams for the white. Okay, there's that. 150 or so. And actually, I'm going to put the white dye in now. Oh, have I made one? Sorry, I didn't know if you were talking about like a specific thing that I said that I was going to do or something. Yeah, I have Joker blanks on my website. I think I'm out because I'm switching over to vertical pour. And so actually, I forgot about that. I already have that ready, that color combo. I just haven't added it to my website. So those will be dropping pretty soon, actually. I've got other ones lined up, other new pen blank colors lined up to release, but I'm going to move that up. I had kind of forgot about that. It was in another box, basically. All right, so this one's gold. We're going 200 grams in there. Okay, and then we got the rest in there. So we want a 1/4 teaspoon of the blurple. So this is my blue to purple color shift powder. Call it blurple. So put that in there. And then I like to add a drop of violet dye, the Alumilite violet dye, to this. So let me just show you guys, for anybody that's kind of doesn't know what's happening here, hasn't seen the blurple in action. So when you put this in here, it's going to be more like an interference powder or something, where it's kind of like milky white. It's more like an aurora kind of thing going on. It's cool, but for pen blanks, it's very transparent, and without having a dark background behind it, it's a little bit lackluster, I would say, for most things. But I mean, there is like a blue and purple color shift, but it's just not, you know, it looks, you guys can see it, there's a little bit of like an aurora kind of thing going on. There we go. That's it. So you add literally one drop of violet dye. One drop. And watch the magic unfold, folks. Look at that. Bam! That's why I love the blue to purple color shift powder and why I sell it. Because you add one drop of violet and it's awesome. It's one of my favorite colors. And then this is my Starlight glitter. And so we're going to go with a 1/4 teaspoon. It doesn't matter. You can just dump whatever you want in. 1/4 teaspoon of that. So this stuff's pretty cool. It's kind of chunky glitter, but it really goes well with the blurple. So you get little color chunks, little holographic color chunks in there that look pretty neat when you polish them. Kind of spacey, I think. Put these guys away. I'm going to wait until like probably 105 Fahrenheit, maybe even a little higher to pour. Kind of I don't pour a lot of the bricks anymore, so I got to kind of think what the temperatures are. Oh, that's not too bad. A little bit thin. I might go for that second half teaspoon in there. This one's great. That'll cover up the tube pretty well. And that looks awesome. I love the white with macro. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's pretty cool. Okay, that's gonna look pretty good, I think. Put this away. I'm gonna get, like I said, another half teaspoon. We're gonna go for a full teaspoon of the 14 karat nugget, just to make sure that it's full. I'm gonna make sure that we got plenty of that stuff in there. I think I have another 14 karat nugget. If not, I'm gonna have to order some more. Let me look at my secret stash. Yeah. Not to worry. You got plenty of 14 karat nugget. I wish they would come out with a silver one of these. They have the penny copper. That's cool. But what they need to come out with is a silver macro pearl. Yeah, the 14 karat nugget's pretty good. The one thing is these little, it's like macro pearl. You know, it's like glitter, basically. And so the only issue is the little glitters can kind of get, like, unless you really wait until it's super thick, these little glitters, and this is the way glitter kind of works in general, like this size glitter, it can kind of mix throughout. Like it's a little bit more difficult to get like a band of just this gold glitter stuff in your blank. So you'll have to kind of play around with you know, the timing of your pour, the temperature that you're going to pour at, and all that. But just to let you know, it can kind of, you can get little specks kind of throughout in all the colors in the end, which is kind of cool too. There's nothing wrong with it. But Sydney, how's it going? Homer Lex is here. What's up? Ah, you like the color shift bundle? Nice. I love that. It's, well, and like I said, you know, so like, I mean, the Blurple is awesome. It's just one of my favorite color shift. Like, there's a lot of color shift powders out there, and many of them just absolutely don't look good. They may kind of shift colors, but they typically just don't even look that good. So this one, I like the colors, especially when you add that violet. I love the Starlight glitter because for certain things, the chunky is awesome, but I would probably say I use the Micro Starlight the most because it is just wicked. It goes with like everything. It's like the super fine holographic glitter. And you can just, I mean, it just adds a little bit of something to just, like, you could add it to anything and it's going to just add those little specks of color. It's kind of like this macro, you know, all these things are kind of similar. Macro Sparkle's a pretty good one too. The drawback to Macro Sparkle though is it's going to make it white. You know, it's going to add a little bit of white to whatever you're, you know, pouring it into. All right, so let's see what temperature we're at. I think we're at like 80, 92. So we need to wait. I'm going to go for like 105, maybe 110. I want to kind of see what the thickness is. I usually pour at a higher temperature when I'm pouring into a brick like this because it has more room to spread out. So you dump it, and if it's not at a certain like kind of thickness consistency, if it's too runny, it can kind of just bleed around. And that's the whole point of this temperature thing, why I'm messing with temperature. It's the most consistent way to get similar results when you pour your resin, when you're doing like multiple colors like this. It'll basically, the temperature is going to kind of equate to what the viscosity is, how thick it is. And so as time goes on, you know, the other way you could do it is by time, but the problem is, how long did it take you to stir it? That can kind of change things. So the time is just not super consistent, whereas this temperature, as long as the temperature in your shop, like ambient temperature, remains constant. So, you know, it's 68 degrees in my shop right now, and I'm shooting for a certain temperature, right? But if it was 95 degrees in my shop, I would wait longer, like to a higher temperature. I need to adjust that if it's warmer or cooler in my shop. So you have to kind of play around a little bit. If you've got a climate controlled shop, you've got it made. You know, you can figure out what temperature works kind of the best and move on. But if it's constantly changing in your shop, the temperature is, you'll want to kind of adjust things, I think. And mainly because usually you're going for, it's not a temperature thing, it's a thickness. It's really more the viscosity of the resin. And when it's warmer out in the shop, the liquid stays thinner viscosity longer. So you need to go for a little bit higher temperature to get to that kind of consistency that you're looking for. At least I am. But I think if everything remains constant, you know, if you're pouring it like 95 degrees Fahrenheit and it's 68 degrees in your shop, I think you're going to get, as long as you're pouring it exactly the same, everything is the same except the temperature in your shop, you'll notice that it's a thinner viscosity at 95 degrees when it's 90. You know, the temperature in the cup is 95. If it's 90 in your shop compared to 68, your resin is going to be thinner and therefore spread out more when you pour it. So I typically go for much thicker when I'm pouring into a brick. If I'm doing a vertical pour, pen blanks, if I'm doing it in something like this, there's just not that much room for the resin to move a lot. And so I go for lower temperatures when I pour into these. I usually pour 90, 95. Whereas into a brick like this, I'm going to be pouring it like 105 probably. Maybe even 110. You don't want to wait too long because it's, the resin starts like actually hardening. But let's see, we're at 103.5. It also helps to kind of look, like pull some out and look at what is the, how thick is this? What's it doing when it runs off your stick? And this is still, it's starting to thicken up, but it's still fairly runny enough that I think we can wait even longer here. So I think we're probably approaching 105. Again, everything's in Fahrenheit when I'm talking about this stuff. So we're about 105 now. I'm going to wait till like 108, maybe 110. Brightest green, sweet, and we can do the green glow powder too. The ads didn't go away. Oh man. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the micro Starlight. You don't need a lot either. That's the nice thing. The only time that you would maybe want more or like need to put kind of more in is one of my favorite blanks that I make is, and this is a new one that's going to be coming out, is just black resin, and then you just add that micro Starlight and it looks like space. That one's going to be called Deep Space. But it just looks like that. But the thing is, because it's black already, it's really dark, you kind of need to add a little bit more in that case, so if you need to overcome a dark color, that's looking pretty, I think we're getting there. 108, yeah, I think we're good now. We're going to pour it about 108. So let's get this thing in the line of sight there. Okay. I'm going to get crazy with it here. Now, one thing to keep in mind, we are going to be pushing, the honeycomb down in. So I might have started a little bit later than I maybe should have, because it does need to kind of go into those cells. But I think we'll be okay. All right, and if you want to, you can kind of stir it up. The thing is, so I'm going to do like a half and half kind of thing. So I've stirred that up a little bit. That will be interesting, but just by pushing this down in, it's going to mix it up a little bit. See? I usually kind of go a little bit slow, let it kind of do its thing. And there you have it. That's all you got to do. It's easy. Let's get this guy. Let's see. Can we get a... I'm going to go with this cam. There we go. You can kind of sort of see what's going on. So I'll just drop this guy in my pressure pot. And we'll pressurize it up to, these ones are set to go to 70 PSI, whatever. Anything over, I usually recommend something over 50. Technically 40, I would say, is the bare minimum. My only issue with 40, it's gonna be enough to get probably most of your, like all the bubbles out. But the only issue is if your pressure pot doesn't hold pressure for long enough, like until the resin is fully set up, hardened, kind of. So basically, if the pressure in there drops below 40, you risk the bubbles starting to come back. So I always recommend try to find a pressure pot that can go up to 50 psi. You'll get the best results that way. And you can do that with the Harbor Freight. That works fine. 50's the highest I would go in the Harbor Freight personally. The California Air Tools, those are 60 is the max on those. That makes them a pretty good option. And then these California or CA Technologies, sorry, California, CA, all kinds of things going on. The CA Technologies pots, their max is technically 80, and I just go to 70 because that's plenty. So just always be aware, make sure you know what the max rating of your pressure pot is. You do not want to over pressurize your pressure pot. That's when things get a little bit dangerous. And the material could weaken and break, resulting in lids flying off, which is not good. You don't want to be around for that. Otherwise, as long as you're keeping everything in where it's supposed to be, pressure pots are pretty reasonably safe, honestly. Now, I like to clean up my area because two things. One, I tend to stick my hands in the sticky resin and then I get it all over my clothes. So that's always bad. The other issue is I've had in the past where I didn't realize it, but I stuck a cup of liquid, when I was mixing and getting ready to pour. I've stuck my cup in resin and it ended up tipping it over because I didn't realize that it was stuck kind of, and it just messes me up, and I don't really like wasting resin like that. So I usually clean things up. I'm not a big fan of sticky stuff in the first place, and I certainly don't like destroying my clothes. But when I jack my blanks up because of sticky stuff, that's when I'm like, nope, you've crossed the line, sticky stuff. So one thing that I like to do a lot is I get these little pads, and you can use it just like a piece of cardboard or whatever. I like these mats, and that's great. That keeps it off the wood, which would just get stuck. And I don't mind, little drips here and there, but if you can put something down, if you're going to be making lots of messes over and over again, grab a few pieces of cardboard. Oh, sorry. You guys can't see what I'm doing. This one. Sorry, I was cleaning this. There was a bunch of drips. So a lot of times I'll use these. These are those absorbent pads. They work fine. They're kind of expensive, but we have them. But just a piece of cardboard would work pretty well just to, put down. That way you're catching most of those drips. And then you can get rid of that and then get a fresh piece for the next round. So that's what I usually do. If you don't care about the sticky drips, then don't mess around with any of this stuff. Just put something down that's non-stick under there and have at it. HDPE countertops are a decent option. Pretty expensive though. So a lot of people opt for doing something with like a silicone mat type thing. It makes it really nice to not get your, whatever your desktop surface is totally jacked up. Because if it's just wood or something like that, it's going to be kind of tough to fix it. So move this back. sure this thing is kind of correct. Okay. All right. So number 2, we got brightest green and dark red with sparkles. Cool. I haven't tried KP pigments. The thing is, there's so many different. There's a thousand pigment brands or micas, and I can only do so many. They're all the same pretty much. There's not that much difference between all of them. The only reason I step out, for the most part, I use P-Town. I like the P-Town. They got a great range of colors. I know Fred. I know the owner. He's a good guy. I know this is going to be around for a while. So P-Town's a great company. Eye Candy, I think a lot of people know them. And Jacquard, or the Pearl-X brand. Now, I do step out of those bounds if somebody has a very specific color that I need and I can't find that or make it on my own out of other stuff. But for the most part, I kind of stick with those 3 brands just because otherwise it just gets out of hand. Okay, so next one, let's see, we got dark red. I actually have some. I think we could just do the micro starlight with a red. So Yamagata red is probably my favorite. It's like dark. We can even darken it. I can kind of show you how to darken it a little bit. All you got to do to darken a color is add a little bit of black. We can do that. I think that'll be a great color. And then we got, what's the brightest green? Let's see here. So the brightest green that I got is going to either be spring green or apple green. I think apple green. I don't think I have, well, there's like mint green. It's not really bright. Yeah. I think that's going to be the best one that I got. Well, there is UFO green. This stuff is terrible, though. I don't like that stuff. So there's UFO green. Oh, look at that. The problem with this stuff is it's extremely like chunky. Like it takes forever to get the clumps out. Like there's lots of clumps. So one thing that I like to do is you can thin it out ahead of time. So I think we're going to do that. I'm not sure. I forget if I've shown you guys or how I did this actually in the past. But we're going to go with an alcohol. So we're going to go with UFO green, and then we're going to add some green glow powder to that. I think that'll be kind of cool. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up our UFO green with denatured alcohol. I'm going to put some denatured alcohol in a cup. That's what it doesn't say, but that's what this is in here, is denatured alcohol. And then let's see here. So let's get our colors. So we got green, red, thinking maybe like silver or green, red. I don't really want to do white. It makes me think of Christmas, and Christmas is over. You could do silver, green, red, dark red, bright green. Maybe like pink. Maybe like a lighter. We could do like lilac purple maybe. I don't know about pink. Maybe like this lilac purple. I don't know. That might be kind of cool. Dusty, maybe even brown, or like bronze. I don't know about that. What else do I got? Actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with interference violet. That'll add a little bit of a white component to this, but it'll be kind of different, something that I've never done before. So that'll be kind of cool. All right. So before I start mixing this green stuff, let's see how much I want to get the numbers down. We're going to do another 550 grams total. Let's go with, I don't know, I kind of like that mixture that we just did. That was pretty good. So we'll do 35, 35, and 30. 200 grams, 200 grams, and 150 grams. In fact, I think we could even go a little less. We're going to slightly alter this. We're going to go with 225, 225, and 100. And so we're going to do interference violet. And that's this is a P-Town subby. You can also get, I'm pretty sure that, I think Eye Candy might have that. I don't know. Definitely they do, and so does Pearl-Ex. I'm sure other people do too. Those are the only ones that I know for sure. Let's see here. We're going UFO green. And we're going Yamagata red. Plus black dye. I don't know how much yet. We're going to have to kind of play with that. Plus micro starlight. Okay, so with the UFO green, we're going to try, I'm going to try, I think we're going to have to go with 1 teaspoon. I think you need kind of more of that stuff. So we're going to go with 1 teaspoon of it. So I need to dissolve 1 teaspoon into this alcohol. And then we're doing interference violet. We're going to go with, I think, 100. Yeah, we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon there. Yamagata, we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon of micro starlight, and then we'll have to see on the black dye. I'm just going to add a drop. It'll darken it, so I don't know how many drops it's going to need to get it to kind of a dark but not too dark color, you know. Thing leaking? No. Okay, so got our teaspoon out here. Now, the reason I'm doing this is this stuff is, like I said, super chunky. And what I want to do is I'm using a solvent because it's super thin like water. And what that's going to do is it's going to dissolve this into a smaller amount, maybe like a paste even. We'll have to kind of see. I don't know if you can see this, but it's like dissolving on its own in the alcohol. The alcohol's like eating it like acid. That might have been too much denatured alcohol. Yep. That's the one thing. I haven't done this for a while. I should have put a teaspoon of... Okay, we're going to toss this out because I don't know what the hell's going on with that. I did it wrong, guys. We're going to do this over again. Okay, so we're going to put a teaspoon of this stuff in, of the powder in first. And we're going to add a little bit of this denatured alcohol as we go so that you don't have just a bunch of denatured alcohol. That might have even been too much. The denatured alcohol shouldn't really have too much effect on the resin. It may have some, but I don't think for, you know, this little amount compared to like almost 600 grams of resin. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's not any different than alcohol ink, and people put that in resin all the time without having massive structural problems with their blanks. Now, I do stay away from alcohol inks for turning blanks just because, you know, the worst case scenario is it could have an adverse effect on the resin, making it more brittle or something, or softer or harder, or who knows. It could change the effects, basically. So I don't typically use alcohol inks, but like I said, this isn't going to hurt anything. The alternative to doing this also, in this case with this specific, so UFO green is one of them, and these are just eye candy ones. UFO green, Firebird red, there might be a yellow. There's a few of them that they sell that are this weird kind of powder stuff that just is a bear to get mixed in. Like it almost really doesn't mix in to just resin if you're just sitting there mixing it. So you'll definitely want to thin it out like that. One other thing that you could do is just go with like some of the part A of your resin, or whichever one is the thinnest, actually might be a better way to go. And just try and mix it in there beforehand. That way you're definitely not going to have any compatibility issues or you know, stuff happening basically to your resin or the mixture or the properties of it. But you saw how quick this was, and it really isn't going to affect anything. So, all right, so let's see here. Are we ready? I'm ready. What was the name of the other brand? So I've got P-Town Subby. I know it's kind of weird. He really should not have gone with that for a business name. P-Town Subby. Come on. There it is, ptownsubby.com. You can get all these at Turner's Warehouse. That's where I get them. They got really good pigments too. Like I said, I said that there's no difference, but there is slight differences, but I mean, realistically, it's negligible, but they've got very good pigments. None of them are like too thin. I don't find, or anything like that. Some of the colors, it's not so much like the pigment itself is bad. It's just that some colors just aren't really that great or whatever. But P-Town Subby has a pretty good lineup, and they've been adding even more. And then the other one is Eye Candy that I use, and I think most of you guys, everybody kind of knows that. The other one is Pearl-X. This one's kind of the old standby. It's Jacquard is the like overall brand, but Pearl-X is the mica powders. And again, I mean, they're all kind of the same, honestly. There's really not much difference between them. Just kind of pick ones that you like, and then like I said, if you need a very specific color mica, this is kind of what I recommend, is just pick a brand, stick with it for the most part, and then branch out if you see someone's very specific color that you want, you know, go with that. But just makes it really difficult to use all kinds of different pigments. And my biggest problem is, in the past, I've gone with other brands that ended up going out of business. And so like ones that are, I don't know, not as well known, I don't recommend going with those, because you may find one day that they're not there. And that really kind of sucks. I don't foresee Eye Candy or P-Town going anywhere for a long time. Okay, so we ready? 550. We need 275 grams of part A. So let's get that rolling here. Let's see here. Yeah, 276. That's fine. As long as you keep them equal, you're good. There, you got a little bit of range with the Lumelite Clear Slow. I recommend trying to be as close as possible, but at least with this one, there's a decent amount of range before it's really gonna get messed up and have any like curing issues or anything like that. There we go. Back the camera. Okay. Get this stuff mixed up. Let's see here. We got our red. We got 100, I think, is going in this one. So we'll use a smaller cup for that. Let's see. So Cindy was asking if it'll float. It shouldn't. Like the aluminum, the cardboard honeycomb should not. It's actually going to absorb the resin, and so it should really just sink, especially once the resin really starts penetrating in. But I've never seen cardboard honeycomb float. There isn't really a lot of like air. It's not buoyant, you know, in any way. There's no, because it's so thin, there may be air, you know, in the cardboard, but there's no big mass of cardboard with air in it, so it really shouldn't float, I don't think, anyway. Like where, you know, wood floats because you've got quite a bit of air kind of trapped on the inside. And so that's why you get, you know, wood and things like that floating is you kind of have like pockets of air inside it, I think. I don't know. I'm not a physicist though. Let's see, what were you guys talking about? 40 grit sandpaper. William was asking how much my pressure pot was. So the CA Technologies ones, the one that I put it in, this time the silver one, those things are expensive. I don't recommend buying those at this point. The one advantage that those have, and I'll show you guys later after we pour this and get everything going, the one advantage is they are a little bit wider diameter, and they're very good quality. But they're so expensive, so much more expensive at this point that I can't really recommend it. And they don't even come ready out of the box. So they actually have a big disadvantage compared to the CA or the California Air Tools ones, the blue one behind me. That's the one that I recommend. That's the brand that I recommend. At this point, I'll flip to this. I can do two things at once. Okay, so this is a CA Technologies, and that's what I had. That's what all of them were. It's a 2.5 gallon. That's what I use most. I do have a 5 gallon down here. And again, this is another CA Technologies. I definitely do not recommend buying a 5 gallon CA Technologies. I forget how much they are now, but they are ridiculously expensive. It's just stupid. This is the California Air Tools, the blue one. It's, like I said, slightly smaller diameter, which makes it a little bit harder. Like it's easier with a rack to get, you know, bricks in something like this. But this thing literally comes totally ready. There's no plumbing to do. You take it out of the box and start using it, like literally right away. And it's like half the cost of a CA Technology. So that's what I recommend. They're excellent quality, you know, as well. The only, you know, like I said, a couple differences. There's a slightly smaller, they're a little taller, but a little bit smaller diameter. Like we're talking like 1/2 inch maybe. But it is a little bit significant. Like it's a little easier for me to get a brick in the CA Technologies. Not worth the price difference, you know. But the only other difference is these can go up to 80 psi. This goes to 70, I think. Is that right? 60 max. Oh, so max is 60 on this. Max is 80 on this. That's not a difference worth paying more money for. I always recommend getting the California Air Tools. You can get them they have lots of different sizes now too. They have a 2.5, a 5, and I think, and a 10. That's like a short squat kind of pot. It's kind of crazy. I think it's a little bit more for like your, I don't know, people that are making like the bigger molds, bowls and things like that, I guess. It's like shorter, but it's much wider even than a 5 gallon. So they have a couple different sizes and they're great. They're all ready to go out of the box. Excellent quality, reasonably priced. And then if you're going for super budget, if you literally are like, I cannot spend the extra $100, go get a Harbor Freight pot. They'll work. They suck. They're not they're not particularly fun to use. The nuts are really small and hard to clamp. You're gonna have to do all the conversions with the plumbing. Not very fun. I think it's well worth the $100 to get a California Air Tools, but like I said, if your budget just will not permit that, go get a Harbor Freight. You'll be in the game for like $100. Make sure to get the coupon, like the 20% or whatever they do. They still do that? All right, so we got $225. So the question was, I totally didn't even talk about that. How much was the pressure pot? So the blue one is 200, I think. Pretty sure the California Air Tools is about $200 for the 2.5 gallon one. I'm pretty sure at this point that the CA Technologies, the silver ones, I think they're like 500. At least 400 for the 2.5 gallon. I'm not sure, I haven't looked at the price, but there's like twice as much. And then the 5 gallon was like 800 or something like that at this point for the silver one. So don't do that. I don't know what the 5 gallon, I want to say like the 5 gallon California Air Tools is like maybe 300, something like that. Pretty reasonable. And so when you're looking at pressure pots also, for anybody that's kind of new to this stuff, you can get a 5 gallon and they're like twice as tall, a little bit wider. So you can do things like bowl blanks and larger stuff, or it'll just fit more stuff in it, period. And so that's a good way to go if you only have so much money and you need to do smaller things as well as larger things. Now, if you have the budget, I recommend getting a 2.5 and a 5. That way you can do big stuff in your 5, small stuff in the 2.5, and everything's great. If all you're doing is small stuff, definitely just get the 2.5. The difference is, or the issue is for me, and this is what I recommend people do. The problem is that the lid, everything is a lot heavier, and you're wrangling more stuff with a 5 gallon. And if all you're doing is putting pen blank stuff in there, I don't really recommend doing a 5. If that's, if you're not using that space, go with the 2.5. Much easier to get your lids on and off, lighter, quicker, everything's great. If you can afford it, I would go with both. That way you can do anything you want. You can still put the small stuff in the 5 gallons, so you got 2 pots. Everything's great that way, So that's my 2 cents on that. So okay, I gotta focus here. Half teaspoon of Yamagata. Let's see here. How was I doing this? Yeah, half teaspoon of Yamagata. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to mix this up. I'm going to get this going, and then I'm going to add a little bit of that black dye. You could even use black mica powder for this. I kind of find dyes accelerate the process. They make changes quicker. It's always good to have a set of dyes, I think. Shake that up. So we got red in here. Hopefully you guys can't see what I'm doing. Where's my cameraman? What is he doing? All right, so I added the half teaspoon of Yamagata red. It's a good, nice red. I don't know that it's a dark red, so I'm not sure what Mark was going for, but we're going to add a drop of black. This is just the Alumilite dye. We're just going to add a drop of black. And that is going to change the color. That's much darker already. It's not super a lot darker, but it definitely darkened it to more of like a burgundy kind of color, or whatever, crimson. I'm going to add one more drop of black. You don't want to go too crazy with that black. Really make it really dark. There we go. That's looking candy apple reddish. Okay, and then a half teaspoon of this micro starlight, I think. Is that what we were doing? Quarter teaspoon of micro. It's probably plenty. Quarter teaspoon. Oh, I just dumped it, kind of. Quarter teaspoon or so. we added it. So again, the micro starlight just adds a little bit of kind of bling in there. It'll kind of sparkle for you. Pretty sweet. All right, now UFO green. I'm going to get this kind of, I'm going to try and get as much of this as I can in my cup. May need to add a little bit more. Just have to kind of see how it went. Okay. Ooh. It's pretty bright. Now, an alternative way to get just about the same kind of look is to go with the fluorescent green from Alumilite. Honestly, it may even have the same base, you know, where you're just dealing with a powder from Eye Candy's UFO green. This may just have a little bit of that that powder in it, and they've already put some liquid. It's a different type of liquid. It's not alcohol, but probably glycerin or something like that. But either way, like I said, it didn't even change the the color or anything like that. And then we also need to put some glow powder in. I'm not going to get nuts with the glow powder on this one because it just eats your table saw blade up, and I really don't want to just. That's why I don't use glow powder like ever. So we're going to go with, I don't know, I'm just going to dump some in here. Probably going to be about like an 1/8 teaspoon or so. I don't know exactly how much you need to get an effect, but the more you put in, the more glow. But it is going to be a little bit more murderous on your tools because it's basically like dumping sand in there. So I don't know if you've ever turned sand before, but it ain't cool on your tools. All right, I'm going to have to hurry up here. And then interference violet, we're going 1/2 teaspoon. Am I really going 1/2? I don't think we needed 1/2 on that, but that's okay. Pretty sure I've never mixed interference violet, fluorescent green, and dark red before. I think that's a new one. I already tell it's starting to thicken up already. Let's see what temperature we're at. 100. I think we can probably maybe pour. Do you like that? Probably maybe. I stick my finger in. Okay. $102. I think we're good. It was a little bit thick last time. It was pretty good, but I'd like to try just a little bit thinner this time. So we're going 102. Are you guys ready for this craziness right here? Now, one thing, I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but because there is some alcohol in that green, it can kind of cause some weird effects in resin. So that might be something that's kind of interesting that we see in these blanks is like, I don't know if you're seeing this, but there's little cells happening in there. And I'm pretty sure that has to do with the alcohol. So like I said, it can cause some effects, like it has an effect on the resin. shouldn't really be a problem. And I mean, honestly, most of it should probably just evaporate, honestly. And it'll be gone before it's really fully cured. But just know that, you know, it can cause, which, you know, it can cause some cool effects. So you might want it, you know. We'll have to kind of see how this all works out. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen the, you know, like the what do they call it? The coasters with the, oh shoot, what is it called? The Petri dish pours. People make coasters out of, and they're using alcohol inks, and it has some kind of weird effects that happen when they pour it. And then also when you put some, you know, the white dye on top, that also has an effect on the resin and the colors and how things kind of end up. All right. And then we'll just plop our honeycomb in there. There it goes. It's thinking about it. All right. All right, so I'm going to switch to this view, turn it that way, get this stuff out of the way, and we'll drop this guy into the pressure pot. Bam, just like that. And boom. All right, we'll do a little bit of cleanup on aisle 7 here. I like to get my sticks cleaned and then just reuse them. That'll be kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how that dark red with the micro starlight turns out. That was a pretty cool combination, I think. Okay. Get my spoons clean. Nobody wants a dirty spoon. Need to refill the micro starlight. Drop that in there. All right. You're ready to rock and roll here. Kind of missed there. And then I remove my air hose. It's debatable how to do that. From a crazy safety perspective, technically the safest thing you can do is remove them. You know, but always you want to, you know, close your valves. The thing is, there is some smarts to leaving your air hose hooked up. Your pressure will never drop at that point. So you're guaranteed never, even if there was a pretty like if there's a huge leak, you're gonna hear it. But if you've got a leak where, you know, it's kind of slowly over hours goes down, leaving your air hose hooked up will make sure that your pressure pot is constantly at whatever your max, PSI is, whatever your safety is set for, or the regulator, I should say. The thing is, though, if you're going to leave it hooked up, and realistically, it doesn't matter if you're doing this hose thing or not, you always want to have your safety valve. Do not ever remove the safety valve on your pressure pot, and make sure that it works as well. That way, if anything goes haywire, your regulator fails for some reason, your safety will make sure that your pressure pot doesn't get overly pressurized. Again, if you go too high in these things, it could blow the lid off, which you don't want. It's very dangerous, but as long as your regulator and your safety are on, you're good to go. There's no problems. So just, and the reason I say this is, in the past, some people felt that it would be a smart idea to remove the safety valves on their pressure pots, and go figure, the people that removed their safety valves and thought that they needed 1,000 pounds of pressure in their pressure pots for pen blanks, their pressure pots blew up on them. Whoa! And then they got all mad at Harbor Freight. So it's kind of funny. But, just know that if you're messing around with it, use it as it's intended and what the regulations say, and you're fine. And make sure that stuff is working, and you'll be good to go. Now, like I said, the safest thing to do is close off your valve, take the air hose off, and you're fine. But there is some advantage, especially, I don't think that, I don't really worry about pressure dropping. You would have to have a pretty significant leak in your pressure pot for it to severely affect Alumilite Clear Slow. The stuff gets hard within like 20 minutes. So does it matter that, even if you have a leak in here, it's probably not going to be so significant that it's going to mess up your casting. However, if you're using something like, an epoxy that's got like a 45-minute working time or whatever, and then it's one of those that you have to leave in overnight, that's where you can really run into issues, because it takes so long for that resin to harden up to the point that it doesn't, like, you could take it out of the pressure pot, basically. That's where you're kind of looking at. If you're using a resin like that, there's some advantage to leaving your air hose hooked up to make sure that it doesn't drop to a point where it's going to affect your casting. Now, as long as you don't have any leaks, it doesn't matter, but there could be some advantages to doing it that way with those types of resins. All right, so let me scroll down here and see. Yeah, do I have a Harbor Freight? The thing is, if you're spending half the money, if you're only spending $100 on a pressure pot, all right, it's not because Harbor Freight managed to negotiate a supreme deal with people. It's not a good deal. It's quality control is lower, and the material costs, it's using lower quality materials. All right, there's no benefit, there's no magic thing. They're buying stuff from China and it's cheaper. So I'll just show you what the difference is with this real quick. They work fine. I've had this. I've never had they don't blow up or do anything unless you're abusing them. One of the biggest problems, though, again, it's going to come and you're going to have to do all the plumbing on this thing, like adding your inlets and all that stuff and blocking off the other side. My biggest complaint is the clamps. Look at how small this little nut is, this little wing nut thing. All right, I'm going to compare this to the other two. I'm going to take this nut out. All right, so here's the wing nut on the Harbor Freight. Okay, right there. Here is the wing nuts on both the CA Technologies as well as the California Air Tools. All right, so again, California Air Tools, that's the one that I recommend buying. You can get it at Turner's Warehouse. There's a link in the description of this video. And then CA Technologies, all right? They both have the same size wing nut. Amazing. And again, this is another reason why, like, the CA Technologies, is using similar equipment to the California Air Tools. So there's not a whole lot of difference really between those two. So, but look at this. So trying to crank on a tiny little wing nut like this, that sucks. It doesn't feel good on your hands. The threads even suck on these things because again, they're cutting corners where they can. Now, the biggest thing that I do not like about the Harbor Freight pressure pots, although there's no evidence to show that this really causes any issues, because I don't know anyone that has had an issue because of this, but the way this system clamps, you put it in here and it's literally clamping down onto the lid with a pretty small point. All right. So that thing is just smashing down into your lid, and it damages it. It dents it. It causes issues, right? And so the problem I have is I just don't want to have something where it's literally the clamping mechanism is a single point denting the lid. That just doesn't seem like a smart idea to me. Now, that compares to the way these other ones work. And I'm going to see if I can get a shot of this decent enough. I might have to set up another camera. But the way that these are both the same type of system. The way these things work, there's no pin digging into the lid. The nut, there's a washer that goes on here, but it's all flat, and like the force is being applied to something. Nothing's denting this. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's a wing nut, there's a washer, and it's literally pressing down on something that was obviously intended for, like a washer, something flat, to take a lot of force. So it's just a smarter way to do it, period. And so again, for $100 more, I'm gonna go with the thing that that I know for sure this thing's gonna last forever. Like, you're never gonna have to replace that because you dented the lid with your clamps. So again, California Air Tools, it's about 200 bucks. It's a really great pot, and I think I'm gonna go to Turner's Warehouse. I'm gonna go grab you guys a link because I'm a nice guy like that. Why not? I also want to look up what the 5-gallon one is. All right, so the 2.5 gallon is $206. The 5 gallon is $299. And they also, like I said, have a 10 gallon. It's kind of weird. It's like short. It's like maybe half the height or something like that of these, but much wider. And that one's $540. All right, so most people probably aren't going to buy that because it's a little bit more single purpose, I would think, and pretty expensive for what it's doing. But the 2.5, like I said, $206, which is really, it's a great price. And like I said, they come, and I have a video on this pot in the description. I don't know if it's in the description. What am I doing here? I got to get my link. Okay, so here's a link to that pressure pot. I'm going to go grab that link for anybody because it sounds like there's some people that are interested in looking at these different things, might be wanting to get one. Let's see. There it is. I might even have a playlist of pressure pots. So here's a link to that video setting up the there's really no setup. Getting this thing, unboxing and getting it ready. The one thing that you do need to do is set the regulator, which takes 10-15 seconds. You just want to make sure that it's, when you put your air hose on, setting the regulator the regulator stops air from coming in at a certain point. So you can set it at like 60 PSI, which it doesn't have like an indicator. You just have to you got your gauge and you just have to kind of fiddle with it until it stops at the PSI that you want. But I show you how to do that. Takes 10 or 15 seconds, but what the regulator does is I can just jam this thing on there and walk away. The regulator is going to stop filling it's going to basically kind of shut off the incoming air at my specified PSI. And I highly recommend leaving the regulator on and setting it that way, because it's so easy to jam that thing on there and walk away. And if you didn't have that thing set, or you had it super wide open, like way higher than the safety, then your safety is going to constantly be popping off, which is just kind of inconvenient. So the regulator is great, Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. Yeah, you can flip your pressure pot on its side. I actually have this French cleat. I don't know if I really want to do this, but this pot's so heavy. Oh, it's the wrong way. Now, this thing is so heavy, I would have to brace this thing, but you can set it on its side. And then the only issue is it's a little bit harder to get your lid on, but you can put something, deep, longer that way, that needs to lay horizontally. So it's a pretty cool little deal. Yeah, it was on camera. All right, is there any other questions? Even without the pink. Yeah, pink would have been cool too. Yeah, that's one of the things also with the Harbor Freight. The lids tend to be wonky. I would, because I actually have 3 Harbor Freight pot. I've got a lot of pressure pots, but I bought a few of them, and I'm pretty sure that every single one, you really got to mess around with. There's like a certain position. Now with these, there's only 4 positions that the lid could possibly be, because you have these, these things have to fit into the little tabs. With a Harbor Freight, it could literally go anywhere. The clamps aren't, there's not 2 different parts to the clamps, it's just one. And so, you can close the lid here, or right here, or right here. You can do it anywhere. Usually there's one position that works the best. And what I recommend is, I'll show you what I did. I found the best position and then I marked it. All right, so I got a mark here and mark here. That's where the lid tends to fit the best, and I don't get leaks coming from that gasket. But they tend to leak more than all the other ones. And these, like I said, the biggest problem I have is these nuts are just stupid. I just can't stand them. They hurt your hands to try and do. You can make nuts or use a wrench or do all kinds of stuff, but I would just recommend, if you got the funds, spend $100 more, get a really good pressure pot that'll last you forever, and you'll love it. So again, the links are in the description of the video, as well as the chat there to the pressure pots at Turner's Warehouse. And Turner's Warehouse is fabulous. I recommend getting it from them as well, because you can buy them on Amazon or wherever. And I could do an affiliate link to Amazon. Here's the deal. If you buy these things from Turner's Warehouse and run into issues or anything, or have questions, there's a place to talk to somebody there, right? If you buy it from Amazon, because a lot of people, I did that video and people were bitching at me basically that I was like, oh, you're just hawking Turner's Warehouse stuff. And I said, you're damn straight. I'm hawking their stuff because they have a team of people that can help you. That's why, and it's the same product, right? So don't get it at Amazon. Go get it at Turner's Warehouse, where you've got support if needed. That's one of my biggest things. Woodcraft sells them too, but obviously I'm gonna point you to Turner's Warehouse because I know Chad and Amy over there. But definitely get one where you can get it where there's people, So yeah, like I said, the biggest thing, the 5 gallon's a good deal for $100. What was it? How much was it? I think $100 more. If you do know that you're going to be doing larger in smaller projects. The 5 gallon, if you can only afford one, definitely get a 5 gallon pot. It's a great deal. That way you can cover everything. But like I said, if you are planning to do larger projects as well as smaller ones, I do think it's worth getting both if you can afford that. That way you don't have to wrangle the big lid, when you're doing smaller stuff, but you got 2 pots. 2 pots is always better than one. I'm going to drop one more link. I have a playlist to pressure pots in general. Oh, what's going on here? Somewhere. Oh, I hate this. You know what I don't like about YouTube is, so I have a YouTube channel that I create videos for other people, right? There's like 2 sides to YouTube because I make playlists that are private that are for me, like, topics like workouts that I do or whatever, that I don't need to share with people. They're not, they don't care. I wish there was a way to just close those down because I got all these playlists and I don't know. There we go. Pressure pots for resin casting. And this shows you all kinds of different stuff. It'll show you how to set up the CA Technologies, Harbor Freight, as well as the California Air Tools, which is the one I recommend. Leaks, if you have a leak in there, how to find and fix it. Choosing a pressure pot for casting, which that one's a little bit irrelevant because I just recommend getting that one. Just the only question is which size. Mounting the pressure pot, excuse me. Installing a lid gasket. So there's a few different things in there that I think might be worth checking out for anybody looking to get into pressure pots. Here's a link to that. Let's see here. Any other questions? Did I miss anything else? Yeah, knife scales would probably. Now the only thing is, so project by project, you may be doing smaller projects. The one thing that I will say that like a bigger pot will help with, if you plan to make, typically this doesn't work for, like people always want, they're like, oh, I want to order like 20 blanks from you. Can I get a discount? And I'm like, well, I can't, I pour them 6 at a time. It doesn't really matter how many you're buying. I don't scale up. Because when you're doing like color swirl type things, it's hard to scale up. I could scale up a little bit, but not that much, right? So I'm gonna, sorry, somebody's knocking at the door. I don't really scale things. Now, if you're just doing like one color or something like that, you could load up a ton of molds and then, fill like a 5 gallon pot if you're doing like, a lot of stuff like that. So think about that if you were possibly going to go into making lots of things, if you can batch out a ton at once. At that point, the size of the 2.5 gallon may be a little bit too small. If you're going to be doing, it's not always just that I want to make a gigantic casting. It's just how much are you going to put in there at once. So hopefully that made sense. Yeah, it works. I know it works, right? So except for this one, every other pressure pot that I've ever bought, you have to do all this plumbing. So go check out that playlist. Look at the we call it a conversion from, because what these things are is they're basically paint spraying tanks. That's what they were originally intended for. And so, some companies are making pots that are basically for resin casting and they're already set up. Whereas most of the other ones, you have to do some conversions with the plumbing. And so I had to replumb all of mine except for this one. And I'll tell you what, this is the last one that I bought, and you just take it out of the box and it's ready. And you're like, what? That's amazing. So it's pretty cool. I really like those. And I was super excited about this one, the 2.5, because the California Air Tools had a 5 gallon for many years that was ready out of the box and all that kind of stuff. But I don't use those usually. So, when they finally came out with a 2.5 gallon made for resin casting, quote unquote, or just ready out of the box, then I was super stoked. So definitely recommend that one, especially if most of what you're doing is pen blanks. All right, so I think somebody's at the door. I should probably close things down, but I'll get these things ready. One other thing that I want to mention before I go, those I'd probably leave in the pressure pot for about 2 hours, maybe 3. And I'm good to go. So again, Alumilite Clear Slow, that size of a casting, 2 to 3 hours, you should be good to be able to pull it out. Technically, I usually leave the little pen blank ones. I'll often just leave these in overnight just because it's a little bit easier to demold them if I leave them in a little bit longer. But you can pull them in about 4 hours probably for the pen blanks. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening. Thanks for joining the fun tonight. Sorry that we didn't get to do streams the last couple weeks, but family things, and then we had a little vacation, a little staycation kind of thing going on last week. So anyway, we will get these things pulled. I'll probably drop pictures either Sunday or Monday on what they look like, get them cut up, and they'll be ready to rock. Now, there's going to be some left over. We did 2 batches, but some of them are going to be going into the subscription blank people. They're going to get 6 of them. And then the rest will be up for grabs on the website. So I'll get those things listed and everything will be good. And I'll probably turn one next week. We'll have to see. I may have something else planned, but if that's not going to happen next week, then we'll turn one of these guys up. So anyway, guys, have a good rest of the evening, and I will talk to you guys on the next stream.